We are back for some very real talk. This
Yes,
is Real Talk with Jesse and Sherrard, episode
34,
34,
33.
33. I don't know what
It
I've
don't
been,
matter. I think
think
maybe,
I've,
I think 34. Yeah.
I think I've labeled like two other episodes, episode 34 already. So,
We'll just call this one 34.
they're just 34 from
Yeah.
now on. But yeah, that intro is very much our segue into what we're talking about today. Jesse and I are so excited because our next episode we're going to be able to record with the Cashley Foundation, and that should be amazing.
Yes.
We had to rearrange because schedules happen, and we were like, well, we got nothing because it's like one of those times where it's like technology is failing, it's freezing outside,
Yes.
I'm tired. Yeah, so we're going to talk about how we're doing and just do a self-care check. And selfishly, I'm very excited for this because I feel like I need to vent a little bit. um, I haven't even asked Jesse. Is it cold where you are?
It's a little bit warmer now than it's been obviously the past few days. We've had some snow. So like this weekend we went and visited my mom and dad, which I was kind of mad because I canceled. My mom's birthday was in January 24th, and so I made like this little special plan for that to go down there that weekend, watch my grandma so they could go out to dinner. They haven't been out to dinner in a year by themselves. So, I set up these little reservations and made plans for my other brothers and sisters to come over Sunday to celebrate. Canceled it because of the weather. It did nothing in Georgia, barely. It did nothing here. So we changed it to last weekend. And of course, it snows, so my mom and dad couldn't go out. We still had our party at her house, so that was nice seeing my family. But I was supposed to go to my niece's birthday party the next day, which was Sunday, and Cleveland, where I'm at, got 4 inches of snow. So they were telling everyone to stay off the roads and everything. And so I was like, okay, well, it's better for us to leave early from a 2.5 hour drive if it turns into a 4 or 5 hour drive, so we wouldn't, be driving in the dark. And, we're doing good. We get, more than halfway there. We stop and get gas. We get on the highway. Something hits our windshield, cracks it. Thank God for Safe Flight. They came out the very next day so it wouldn't spread. Got into Cleveland. There's snow everywhere, but we were able to get in safely. But the drive was just like very anxiety ridden because there was like snow buildup everywhere and falling off like 18 wheelers and everything. It was crazy.
It's like the type of drive where like you're just so exhausted afterwards.
Yeah, because I mean, like, it's just you have to watch out for other cars because, like, it's so easy to lose control. It's even easy, we could have lost control and hit somebody. And we were so worried about, like, if, because we live in apartments and where our apartment at is in the very back of the building. So I was like, which you have to go up 2 huge hills. So I was like, well, if we can't, you know, get up there, what we could do is just park somewhere and then get our little suitcase, and just roll
Yeah.
it on up, but thankfully we were able to get here and they salted most of it. We were able to go because we needed stuff from the grocery store as well, because with the threat of the winter storm the past 2 weeks, there was hardly anything at the grocery store, so we weren't able to get anything real that we needed, so we were able to make it to the grocery store later that day, and then we just stayed home. But I mean, it was freezing. I mean, you couldn't, literally, like, we put food outside for the cat, and I walked out there and put water out for it, and like 4 hours later came back, and it was like halfway frozen.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was so cold, and I know Louisiana got pretty cold. How's it there now?
Okay, well, so now I feel like a baby after hearing your story. But yeah, it's been cold. It thankfully like it was a little bit warmer yesterday and today the sun is out, which is lovely. Because it's been so cold that it's like, and if you're not from Louisiana, you'll just think we're babies because it was like in the 20s, but that like we can't like go and like you can't go outside. So it was like, even though like there would be like sunshine, it was like you can't like go out and be in it. And I just feel like it like I've had like several conversations with people about this. Like it just like affects your mood when you just feel so cold because you're just like, I can't go do anything. I don't want to get out of the bed. You're like shivering and it I like to, activates. This is my theory. I haven't read this, but I think because you're like shivering and you're like holding tension because you're cold. So it like activates like an anxiety response because that's what your
Yeah.
body does when you're anxious. And then like, I normally like to like go outside and walk or I run or whatever outside. And it's like, and you just can't. And so then your mood's all affected. So it's like, I just feel
Yeah.
like I've been like an anxious Annie and nobody can see this. This dog is climbing up behind me. And just like in a funk that I actually
Well,
feel way better today because it was warmer. So I was able to like go out and go on a long walk and then took the dog for a longer walk and stuff like that. But it's like, I don't know. I'm someone that like usually likes cold and likes winter, but this has just not been fun. And because it didn't come with anything cool like snow or anything that's novel to us
yeah.
down here, where it's like, oh, we're just all miserable. And then
Yeah.
we're all dry. Like you can see this is embarrassing. My lips are so dry, our skin is so dry. It's just like, ugh. And
Yeah.
uh,
I totally get that because I mean, like I said, we wanted snow and I mean, but it wasn't like the snow, like you couldn't play in it. Like it's too cold. I mean, like you
yeah,
got hypothermia, whether you're all dressed up in like 10 pairs of gloves and like sadly, like a kid lost their life. Like they were literally like two houses from being home and lost control of the car or something happened in the high school. I mean, there was so many accidents and stuff, and it was just like, it's kind of depressing, when you can't go out, and I ordered two heating blanket. I usually don't sleep with a heating blanket, but um, I ordered two of them because it was so cold and like we kept turning on the heat. But for some reason, our apartment, and I don't know if this is just Tennessee because I feel like when I lived in Georgia, it just didn't happen. But our apartment, you can put it on like 78, right? And
mhm.
it'll shoot up really fast with the heat. And then I'll just turn it down to like 72, but it doesn't hold heat. So you're just kind of like freezing. And like we have carpet and hardwood. So I mean, but the areas, I don't know, like we opened our closet door to get clothes and it literally felt like an iceberg. So I ordered two heating blankets, from Walmart and was like, I guess I'm gonna start using one at night because it's so cold, that it just, I mean, it was uncomfortable. Like you can't keep getting up, turning up the heat, and then, turning it back down. And then even if you kept it up to 78, it still wasn't staying that temperature. So I was just like, we need to contact the apartment people and tell them that our apartment's not holding heat or something because we're gonna all get sick. My little cats were sitting there, got cold fur when I was petting them, so I wrapped them up. So I was just like, I'm so ready for it to be warmer. I mean, today it's okay. It's rainy, so it's not pretty here today, but I think it's supposed to be a lot warmer, like going towards the end of the week. I don't think it's supposed to like be super sunny or anything, but um I'm hoping Saturday's good weather. They're having a Valentine's vendor mart at our mall, and it's like over like 100 vendors, and like outside there's like coffee places and food trucks, and my wife and I want to go to that. We went to the last one. They had a lot of cool stuff that you can buy and just kind of check out. So I'm hoping the weather's nice enough to do that. But they said the groundhogs saw its shadow, so supposedly 6 more weeks of winter. And I'm just hoping at least if we have 6 more weeks, that at least it stays like, in the 40s. I'm even okay at this point in the 30s. I mean, we were in the 17. Like we were like, I was sending it like on how we have that that Google thing for our work, and people were sending their temperatures, and I sent in 17, and somebody was like, "Oh no, I would have to move,"
Yeah,
and
no,
I
thank
just
you.
started laughing. I was like, "Yeah, that's what it is." I was like, "And it feels like 4 degrees apparently."
Yeah, Punxsutawney Phil, that's the
Mm,
groundhog. He has let us all down because like I feel like the whole like country is like, okay, this was too cold. Like we don't want this. And
yeah.
and I'm coughing, I'm sniffling. I know I'm being a baby, but that's okay.
No, I think everybody is like their allergies or they're getting sick. It's crazy. Like everybody at my sister's household in Georgia was sick except for her little baby, and then I don't think my sister got sick, but like my two nephews, like they were like coughing. My one nephew's had a cough for like 2 months, and like they've given him steroids and everything. They're like, it's just a bad viral cough, and I'm like, 2 months, and she's like, I know, that's what I said, and then. he finally is starting to feel better, but then his brother just started coughing and stuff, and I'm like, Lord, poor guys.
Oh, I, and talking about weather, I was talking to two different people, one from Wisconsin and one from like up near the Berkshires. And they
Mhm.
were talking about like when it's cold there and it's like negative degrees. And I was like, that just sounds made up. Like I know it's not. But I'm like, I can't even conceptualize because when we're in like the 20s, I'm like, well, this is unfit for humans. And so I'm
Yeah,
like, to think about going like 30 degrees lower than that, I'm like, well, this is just absurd. I can't even understand or wrap my head around that.
yeah. Well, you know what's crazy is I lived in Colorado for 6 months, and I was there when it snowed and everything, but the cold there is so much different. Like I was literally out in the snow in like athletic shorts and like basically a tank top making a snowman. I don't
Yeah.
know what, I guess because the elevation and then like the difference in the air, like where we have moisture, they don't.
Yeah.
Because it's really dry there. I got like nosebleeds for 2 weeks
Yeah,
until
I get nosebleeds every time I go there.
yeah, but it's so beautiful there. But I mean, I went when it was snowing, and I mean, I lived there, and it was like different from like here. It snowed, and obviously the temperatures in Colorado were colder, but here I was actually more cold. Like didn't even want to be outside. Versus when I was in Colorado, I wasn't like that. Like yeah, I was cold, but not like I am when I'm in the South. So it's so crazy to me because like. They even had like this huge festival in Wisconsin like 4 days later, and um, the person I was staying with, their grandmother went and was like, "Oh, I had a blast," and I was like, "Well, did you see snow?" And she was like, "Oh, yeah, but it wasn't cold." And I'm like, "Yeah," I said, "It's so weird the difference," because I said if this was Georgia, we would be in the house under by a fireplace under like 20 heated blankets.
Yeah, I feel like, other times when it's snowed in Louisiana, it's a lot more like icy and wet and really cold. But when when it randomly snowed so much here last January, I guess, not this one, 2025 January.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was like that. It wasn't as cold. It was like the snow was like powdery. It didn't like soak through your clothes and you could like
yeah,
go out and play in it. Like, I mean, of course it was still colder for us here
right.
because we can't do temperatures. Actually, we can stand the heat way better than most people, but we're gonna
Yes.
complain about it. But yeah, but it was just way different. Yeah, it was much more like just like dry and like fun.
Listen, I thought I was gonna die when I was in Louisiana. Okay, when I came and visited for the first time and went to the Margarita Wine Awards, and we were outside. It was so hot. Okay, and I'm from Georgia, so I'm used to hot. But I thought I was gonna die in Louisiana. I was like, this heat is a no joke. I was like, and my wife has like curly hair for her hair, and it was kind of short, so it was all frizzy and like sticking up. And I was like, how do they do this? I was like, because in Tennessee it gets hot too, in Georgia, but not that kind of hot. I was like, this is a different. I was like, oh my goodness. I was like, I really thought I was going to die in Louisiana. I was like, this is awful, this heat. But now I'm like, I can see why they enjoy it.
Well, it's rare that we enjoy it the whole time. Like we're all excited for when it's like coming because we're like, yeah, it's gonna be warm, it's gonna be so pretty. And we have this like 6 week window of spring where it's like we have like the most perfect weather in the entire world. And
Yeah.
then it gets so balls hot that I mean, the news will even tell you, they're like, don't go outside, you're gonna die.
Yeah.
And then yeah,
I
you can't judge
know.
anybody's hair. I have curly hair, even though it's randomly looking straight right now. I don't know what's happening, what is up? But yeah, it's like there's no telling what it's going to do in the summer. It's got a life of its own. You just got to let it go.
Yeah, yeah, no, I get that. I was there and I was like, oh my goodness. And I was, trying to dress up. I was wearing a long sleeve with a little bow tie, and I was like, I feel like I'm suffocating.
Yeah,
But we were in the little, that place, and it was so nice and cool. And I was like, thank goodness. I was like, because I was like, I don't think I could survive out here. I was like, it is
yeah.
so hot.
Powerful air conditioners in the South.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, because Georgia is what, like 2 states over, and it's
Mhm.
not that type of heat. I don't understand the difference, but I was trying to explain it to my mom, and she was laughing because she's been to Louisiana a couple of times because she likes it, and she was like, "I love it." She was like, "I could just lay out there." I said, "Yeah, and you're gonna die of a heat stroke," and she was like, "There's water nearby." She was like, "I was like, okay."
In the air.
Yeah.
Oh, and I know, like, for our listeners, we've been like joking and I called myself a baby and whatnot. But it is really true that like the weather can just so affect your mood. I mean, it's biological. It's not even just like a toughen up kind of thing. Um, so, and I saw a few posts. We shared one on our V-Link page about this. Like, just a reminder that like you do need to talk about stuff like this and to remember that 988 is available 24 hours a day.
Mhm.
Call and text. I won't forget this time,
Yes.
Jesse.
Good
Um,
job.
but that's free. And believe me, we want to hear from you. We've gotten calls about this. It's important to talk about. It can sometimes seem like, what's the weather? It's not like it's a hurricane or an ice storm or something. When there are changes, especially with cold, and you're feeling more trapped and it suppresses your nervous system or
Mhm.
causes like me the shakes and you're feeling all anxious, like it's really important to talk about that stuff and like give yourself a break, cut yourself some slack, and like make sure that you are really taking care of your self-care. And one of the biggest things we can do for self-care is to talk about what's affecting us and our feelings in response to that. So just remember 988, 24-hour support, live people, never bots, and we want to hear from you. So don't hesitate to reach out if you're struggling.
Yeah, definitely. And you're exactly right. I mean, I think it affects a lot of people. I mean, I think a lot of people that I just talked to in general, like just checking on people, they were just so like, not themselves and depressed and kind of feeling, and the worst feeling I think is when you feel trapped, when you feel like you can't go anywhere and, like, it's almost like I swear I have PTSD from COVID, but it's almost kind of like that because it's like you can't you some people just really can't go anywhere, and so you feel like, what do I do? Or, you try to like distract yourself, That's why I say coping skills are really important. I like to call them life skills because, to me, you're always, if you have anxiety and stuff like that, you're always going to need something sometimes. So I always say they're life skills. And, sometimes that doesn't work. Or like, what if one of your biggest life skills is taking a walk and then, you're trapped inside, so you're like, wow, that one's not going to work. So it's always good to, have a lot more on hand. And also, like you said, 988's always there 24/7, call or text. And, like you said, real people, real connections, and it's genuine and not some AI bot.
Yeah, it's very real. And it's something I've had to talk about, and I've been glad to have like people in my life to kind of give me the like permission to talk about just like being in a funk because I just think it's like I have been. And then part of that, I mean, part of that's just stress with life that's going on, ongoing stuff with the fertility. We're moving, which is exciting, but
Oh, wow.
with all of that, it's like it's just stress. And then I think with the weather, like my anxiety was up, but then I also like felt kind of depressed. And I'm not usually I can default to anxiety like a champion, but I don't really get depressed very often.
Right.
And I found myself like that. And I think it was like feeling even worse because it is that like, I don't want to get out of bed, but that's being like compiled by like, no, I really don't because like it's cold. Like I don't want to get out
No.
from these covers. And normally something, I mean, even my doctor recommends for me, to go out and like get into the sun, get some fresh air within like the first like 40 minutes, I think, of waking up, which
Hmm.
I do because Mikey, the puppy, will be ready for a walk, but then he's so cold. So he's cuddled up next to me. And I'm like, well, we just can't do anything. We just have to I mean, full disclosure, I've taken PTO on 2 different days just because it was just like, I just can't today. Like, I didn't have any
Yeah.
meetings or anything that I had to like cancel, but it was just, and I was glad that I did that. I'm really glad we work for an agency that allows us to prioritize our mental health care in that way.
Yeah.
But it was just like, I don't have anything to give today. And there's no concrete reason why, but I'm just like extremely overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And like my colleague in the external affairs department, Erin, who we've had on,
Yeah.
she's so great. And I like was just texting her, being like, I've got to take the day off today, but text me if you need me for anything. And then we were talking on the phone later, and then she was like opening up, being like, look, in this weather, it's a lot. And then hearing that someone was like going through what I was going through with feeling more anxious and feeling kind of trapped and just feeling like, oh, I just like can't work as much. I don't, and it was yeah, like really affirming. I was really grateful for her and other people to share that with me. And then it just like helps you have more permission to cut yourself a break sometimes,
Yeah.
and I feel like we're so good at always like in general, people are good about reminding other people of that to like take care of yourself and you can't be on all the time, but it's like so hard to kind of like give yourself those own permission.
Yeah, and I think that's a lot of people. I think that's like, I was talking to somebody earlier and we were talking about self-care, and I was like, it's so easy to just give advice, like be like, try to do this for yourself and try to do that for yourself. And then when you sit back, you're like, oh, I don't really give my time this or that. And then we were kind of talking about like the cup theory, like where you keep filling people's cups up, like helping them and helping them, helping them, and then you turn around and you're like dehydrated because one, you haven't really leaned on anyone, or you've had to, kind of try to be there for everybody else. So like no one's really filled your cup. And so, and then two, you're not filling your own cup because you're not really doing self-care. Because sometimes, when you just get burnt out on life in general. I mean, from work, from responsibilities at home, families might be going through stuff. And like when you put like your plate out and you have all these things, and then you got, the weather is depressing, from it's been depressing for most people, so it's just like you have so much on your plate that it can be overwhelming. And so sometimes, like I think, yeah, it's easy for us to say, hey, make sure you have a routine, make sure you have self-care, but then sometimes you got to step back and be like, well, what am I doing for my self-care? Like I've been feeling like this and I'm still just going and going. And so then you lead to burnout really quickly. So, you know, um, I've been trying to do better with it. I know the past couple of weeks have been really like I've had to take a step back and be like, listen, like you're doing it, you're doing too much, like you're getting, you're I could tell like when my mood, when I'm not as patient, because I'm usually a very patient person, and then I was like really stressing out like with my mom's thing, and making sure everybody was still coming to the party and like rearranging everything. And my wife was like, you're doing too much, you need to step back and go take you a bath or go do something, like go read a book, go calm down. And I was just thinking about that, like when you just said that, I was like, yeah, that's true, because sometimes we forget to practice our own self-care, even though we're on here saying, hey, self-care is so important, make sure you're doing it. But when it's yourself, sometimes you just forget about, that aspect of it.
Yeah. I actually, you made me think with your wife, telling you like you need to slow down, you're taking on too much. And it's so wonderful when you have a partner that does like help you to recognize those things, or a friend or a parent or whoever it might be. And Lewis, my husband, said the cutest thing to me last night. It was really sweet because I was just thanking him because I've just been so down for like a couple weeks now,
Yeah.
and he's just been really sweet. And he's also been kind of like purposefully trying to like pick up, I won't call it my slack, but like just shifting a little bit of our natural routine. Where like he's gone to the grocery store more, he's cooked our food more, he's done this more, that more, and I was just thanking him for that, and just that he's been making a lot of time to just kind of check in with me and make sure I'm getting the gunk out basically. And
Wow.
I was thanking him for that, and he was like, "Well, I like to think of myself that I'm like your auxiliary battery pack. So if you're a little bit drained, then I'm there to like give you some extra." And I'm like, "That's so sweet. Thank you."
That is sweet. But that's exciting that you're moving. Are you moving like somewhere like in the same general area, or are you staying in the state?
Yeah, we're staying in the States. So we're moving to Baton Rouge in Louisiana. We live in Livingston, which is about 25 miles east of Baton Rouge.
Oh, okay.
And I have loved living here. I've lived here for about 10 or 11 years now. But there's just no exact concrete reason. It's a bunch of things, but it just kind of came out of nowhere when we were talking the other night. And I was like, I think I want to move back to Baton Rouge. That's where I'm from originally.
Oh,
And he's lived there in different periods of his life for years too. I mean, when we met, that's where he was living. And we just talked about it more, and we were like, our families live in Baton Rouge, like his dad and stepmom and my parents, and then his brother and sisters and our sister-in-law and stuff like that, and our nephew, like everything. And
right.
on my side of the family, like my aunts and uncles live there. My cousin lives nearer to there. I got one cousin who's just going to be an outlier, not in life. He just lives in Mandeville, so it's farther away. But and we were finding that we were spending more time there in general. Like there was just more stuff we were going to do there, or, see friends there or what have you. But it was always such a production, even though it's not that far to get to
Right.
from Livingston. It's just like when you're tired, you give yourself more
Hmm.
reasons to like talk yourself out if you have to take a longer car drive and stuff like that. And then or like we'd get an Airbnb, but then that's, money and stuff like that. And 'cause of course we have to take Mikey with us and we can't stay with my parents because they have a pit bull who is very, very nice and not aggressive, but it's just like, yeah, I don't want to chance it.
Yeah.
And so no shame to my Addie girl. That's is a sweet darling, but she's never been around other dogs. She's just always been an only child. So so and then I don't know, we just basically were like we have loved this town. Absolutely, we live in the town of Livingston for anybody in Louisiana who's listening. We absolutely love this town. It's very sweet, it's very cute. But we were just like, we feel like we're in a stage where we want a little bit more action. Um,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
we were like, if we're gonna move, like we want to move to like a really cool location in Baton Rouge. Like that mattered more to us than like the apartment or the house that we could like size
Right.
and stuff like that. So we picked a cool place in mid city in Baton Rouge. That's like a really cool area. And it's like walkable to a bunch of bars and restaurants and, just cool spots like that, yoga places and galleries. It's really cool, centralized in the city. It's near my parents' house. It is literally 1 block over from where his brother lives. We didn't even do that on purpose. We're like,
Oh,
oh,
wow.
so yeah, we're really excited. So we're moving at the end of the month. But it's just stressful because we really like, so we're moving from a house with a yard into an apartment, which is fine. Like, that's not that big of a worry. And we're not like downsizing
Right.
that much in terms of like square feet, but we are a little bit like we have like sheds and stuff here with like just like the amount of clutter basically that we can have.
Yeah.
So we were like, okay, we don't want to move anything into this apartment that we don't need. Because for both of us, when I moved into this house we're in now, and then when he moved in here with me, we just like moved all our stuff in. And
Right.
so there's just like crap everywhere. Um, I mean, not by a lot of people's terms, but it's too much for me. And so we like really want to make sure that we are like organizing and putting stuff in our storage unit that needs to go there, giving stuff and donating stuff that should, that's what should go, throwing away what needs to be thrown away and only moving in, like starting really fresh.
Right.
And then we're excited about that process because then we're like, this will be kind of our first time of like being able to like build like our home together because like he did move in with me. So we're like, we can actually, and we've both kind of been doing the like younger folks move where it's like our furniture is stuff that other people gave us and
Yeah.
things like that and random things on the wall. So like being like that we could take our time and like find like pieces that we want to put up as art
Right.
and pick out save money and pick out exact furniture that we want and stuff like that. So we're excited about that, but I'm just really stressed about the actual move, not so much like moving our stuff over there, but the like decluttering and getting rid of the stuff we don't want. That it has me beyond stress to like a level I'm probably projecting other things into that stress that it's so high. So um ugh, yeah, I'm so stressed about it and I haven't done anything. Have not done one thing towards working on it. And I know once I start, I'll start feeling better. But you know
Right.
how it is when you're like stuck in that like contemplation phase and you
Hmm.
get to the action. And then of course, so I'm going to be out of town this weekend, going on a girls trip. Shout out to my mom and Dee and Jackie and DT. And then the next weekend, we're going on like a little weekend trip with some friends of ours, Casey and Daniel, to Bay St. Louis. So
Oh,
I'm like,
wow.
oh, good. And then the next weekend we'll be moving. I'm like, that was really intelligent of me to book up all of our weekends and then move. But I'm like, it'll all be fine. Um, because it will. Like people move and everything's okay.
Yeah, yeah. No, I totally get that. I mean, it's always exciting, but it's always, I know when we moved from Gatlinburg to Cleveland, which is 4.5 hours, not even that big of a deal. We were so stressed out, but we were so excited. So I 100% get it. And it's like you know what you got to do, but it's just like, mm.
And I think it's paired with like just a lot of emotion for me. Like I'm really excited for us to move to Baton Rouge. It's also like we're renting if we're like, never mind, this was a mistake. We come back.
Yeah,
But it's just like I mean, I truly have just like loved living here and I have so many amazing friends here. Um, and then with this specific house that we're in now, it's just like meant a lot to me. I like, I lived for years in an apartment in town that I moved into when I was starting grad school because I needed like really cheap rent because I was going to have to switch to like working at a hotel and making less money and working overnight and couldn't work as many hours
Yeah.
because it was school and interning and stuff. So I lived in this I mean, it was a cute apartment, but like it was like it didn't have windows.
Oh wow.
Because it was like a loft like inside a building and just things like that. And so I lived there for forever and then was kind of trying to decide if I wanted to move or not. And I was in a different relationship then that had just run its course and we were like stuck in that phase of like not being able to have the tough conversation because you know how it is.
Yeah.
You still like love someone and you're like, well, when we talk about this, we're probably going to break up. Um,
Yeah.
so it with that, because that was just really smart of me, it just kind of imploded. And like when we were in the midst of our breakup, um, my friend texted me about this house like being available and if I wanted to go look at it. And I literally just like walked out of the apartment, came to this house, met my landlord, Dan, who I love, and was like, I love it, and signed a lease that day. And then it just like that was a really hard like few months for me, like going through that breakup. That was someone I'd been together with for 10 years.
Oh
And
wow.
um yeah, so it was a rough time, but I just like found such solace in this house. And then I had like, it has windows and it has a yard. And, it was like where I really like found myself and like found my adult groove, I feel like. And then, of course, I was living here when I met Lewis, and then we moved in together here. And then we got Mikey as we lived. So it's a lot of emotions to like leave the house because it has like meant a lot to me. But I do think like, it's like I feel secure in our decision, but it's like it's a lot of emotions to leave.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. Especially when it's like somewhere you pretty much found yourself, like found yourself in general, like, you getting out of a bad breakup and, kind of just being there and starting fresh. And that comes with a lot of emotions and feelings. So I'm sure it is hard to leave.
Yeah. It's like, I don't know. Yeah, because it feels like where I like reclaimed my life basically in a
Right.
lot of ways. So it's just like, oh, so I told Lewis, I was like, I might want one night, like after we move, to just like me come back, like before like our lease is up with this house of like, I'll just like bring an air mattress and like I don't know, just like watch like Real Housewives like I like and like just like have a moment with the house like by myself, just kind of like appreciating like what it was
Yeah.
in my time here.
I think that's a cool idea. I think that's really cool.
I did not come up with it on my own. I will confess, you know how I get like all my best ideas from reality TV shows. Um,
Yeah.
and also that comes from those reality TV stars' books. And I was reading one by Stassi Schroeder from Vanderpump Rules, which is one of my favorites. And she's from New Orleans, so shout out. But she was talking about, she now lives like in a house that she loves with her husband and they have kids. But she was talking about when she was single before she met her husband, and she loved this apartment she was living in. And then he moved in there with her, and then they moved into the house they bought. And she's like, I wish I had taken a night just like by myself with the apartment because it sounds like a very similar journey, like reclaimed herself. And then that's
Yeah.
like what allowed her to end up finding like love and getting married in that type of way. So I took,
That's really cool.
so thank you. I think it's cool. And so again, I heard on a podcast today. Now, it was a podcast by another Bravo reality TV star, Lala, and also of Vanderpump Rules. But she said there was a study, and I will refuse to fact check this because I want to believe it because everybody judges me for how much I watch my Bravo reality shows, that the most intelligent people watch Bravo. So I'm like, well,
Oh wow.
I don't know where she got that from. Because I was distracted while listening to the episode and only heard that part. But I am going to choose to believe it.
There you go. That's all that matters.
Because that for me is truly my self care. I know we've talked about this before, but it's like I will not judge myself that like we work in jobs that have some pretty heavy topics. So that
Hmm.
like, but I am also like obsessed with people and their lives, which is, I think, all everybody who kind of gets into help giving is to some degree, you know?
Yeah.
So I'm like, so being able to like, invest in people's lives and dramas and gossip from afar on Bravo is totally my self care.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, that makes perfect sense.
It does to me at least.
I think it does. I think you're right though. I think people in like healthcare and stuff like that, like I remember I'd be in fifth grade and I would like talk to my classmates and I'd be like, so what do you do when you get off school? Like, what do your parents do? Like, what do you eat? And they would just stare at me and I'm like, I'm just interested. I just want to know what you do. Like, this is what I do, you know? So it's funny that you said that because I do think like you kind of obsess over people, like their lives and like how people act and handle things. And, my mom has these skits that she watches on Facebook with, you know, it's just all drama. And she said, I love it. She was like, my life, I don't want that for my life, but, I enjoy watching it on others. She said, because they do these skits with like baby mama drama and stuff, and she loves it. And that's kind of her self care. So that's kind of cool, but I do agree with you. I think like when you're in these types of fields for work, you definitely, kind of get, oh, I wonder what these people do. Or I love to go like to coffee shops and like people watch. I love doing that and watching like people just in general. I'm not the stalker crazy type, not a stalker by any means, but I just like watching people. I mean, I enjoy it. I think some of this stuff is cool. And then reality TV shows I like. And we've watched, I know my wife loves Love is Blind. And we watched Finding Love on the Spectrum. And those shows are so cute, but it's so sweet to see what they go through, like the little kid like the adults that are autistic finding love and like seeing how they handle life and stuff has always been interesting and like interested to me. So I like watching shows like that too.
I love Love on the Spectrum. We started watching that because my brother and sister-in-law were telling us to watch it. And I was worried to watch it because I didn't know much about it, but I was like, this could be kind of like exploitative or really rude towards the neurodivergent community if it's not made correctly, and they
Yeah.
were like, no, 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 like I swear, like it's made really well. And Lewis and I like looked into the production about it and like that they do have like mental health staff and psychologists and things like that, like on
Hmm.
staff and with them while they're filming and things like that. Like it's really taken a lot of care to care for the people in the show, but also to care with how they are portraying the neurodivergent community.
Yeah.
And so we put it on when he had his back surgery in August, like put it on to watch. And I was like, that is now my feel good show. Like that
Yeah.
is such a good show. I love watching them. I love watching the parents so much on the show. Like
Oh yeah.
there's so many good, wonderful parents on that show.
I know you're so right about that. And I like that one. I can't remember their names. I have the worst memory, but the one that's been together, I think he proposed and like they've been together for a long time now and they're so cute. And then there's the one guy, I don't know his name, but he's the one that likes to wear the suits all the time. Like
Yeah.
he is my favorite out of all of them. I love him. I think he is so cute and so adorable. And I think he's such a gentleman and he's so cute. Like they'll go on a basic, like he'll go on like a basic date, where most people are wearing like, blue jeans, a t-shirt, but he wants to dress up in his little suits and he's so handsome and he's so sweet. But I think it's really cool to see like how they think and how they handle situations. And I think I love that show. Like I love that show. I can't wait for the new season to come out later this year. And then I know Atypical is really good. It's not based on like a true event or anything, but it's based on a kid and he's obsessed with penguins. And I believe he has autism as well, but it shows like how he, goes from like being like, living with his parents and things like that. And then he becomes independent. He gets a girlfriend and it's so cute because some autistic people prefer not to be touched and everything. So he works through that with hugging and like holding hands. It's so cute. I love that show too. But the last season was the last season, so I was really disappointed. I mean, it ended well, but I was so disappointed. I was like, they should do that every year. Like that is such a cute little show, but um and of course Love is Blind, that one's kind of interesting. And I watched there's one where it's like you go there as a couple but like you split up and you choose like it's like eight or something couples and you choose one person that you want to date and you move in together like you're a married couple and you date them and for like 2 weeks and then you go back to your I think it's called like exes or something. I don't know what it's called. I have to look it up. But then you go back with your ex and you live with them because it's the ultimatum. That's what it's called because it's one person in the relationship that is saying, if you don't, marry me, then I'm gonna walk away because we've been together this long. And the other person's usually like hesitant about getting married. And so you switch partners basically, and then you go back to your original partner and live together for 2 weeks and like, as a married couple, and then at the end of the show, you decide if you want to propose to the person you've been with, or if you kindled some type of relationship there, or if you leave single. And it's so interesting to see like how people there was like this really toxic couple. They should not been together. And when they were with other people, they were two totally different people. Yeah, and it was so interesting to see like the switch, like where they were with somebody different. Now they both ended up choosing to walk away. Like they both left the show single. But I thought it was so cool like when they sat down with each other after like having that experience with somebody else and then coming back together, like they really did try to fix certain things, but some things just wasn't fixable for them. And like for them to sit there and like both take accountability of what they should have done different or, admitting that, hey, this is me, I can't change. And so I thought that was really cool to kind of see like who they were as a person when they were with each other and then when they were, um, without each other and then when they went back to each other. So, because they always do reunions and they don't talk really often now, and they said that at the reunion, but they both you can tell were like totally two different people, like happy and stuff like that. And I think stuff like that's interesting because you don't think about like, when you see a couple, you don't know. And then sometimes like the girl, she kept saying that she didn't realize how much she changed, how much like she didn't like enjoy herself anymore and like hobbies that she let go and just being like able to like kind of reclaim herself. And I believe when the reunion happened was like almost like I want to say 2 or 3 months later, she was dating. The guy wasn't, but she was dating. And she said she's just enjoyed like getting out, dating. But she said that she really learned a lot about herself. So I think it's kind of a cool show. Like a lot of people talk, about it, saying it's weird because you switch partners or whatever. But they usually don't do anything like that. You just, like you just go on like
Like
dates and stuff, it's not like,
experiencing your dynamic with somebody else to see like
yeah,
because it
and,
can be hard. You can be in love with somebody, but like y'all not be right for each other and you get stuck in a
yeah,
rut and you can't, you kind of stop being able to grow because you're stuck in your routine with them. And so, yeah, it's an interesting.
yeah. And it's interesting to see that, just like at Married at First Sight, how they have those psychiatrists come in and like evaluate the relationship and stuff. Like, I think all that's interesting because sometimes, like you said, you can be in love with somebody and it not be a good relationship. And, you don't, it's almost like you don't know how to get out of it because you've been there for so long. And, it's almost like you lose yourself in the process. So it's always like kind of important to like recognize certain things. So that, and I like watching those shows because they really show like I said, it was a huge difference for that girl. Like she was just very outgoing, like social. And when she was with her boyfriend at the time, like she was very quiet, reserved. Because he was very more on the like the reserve side and like had
Yeah.
like high expectations and stuff. And so, what she admitted, like that's just who he is, and that's not gonna change, that's okay. Everybody's able to be who they want to be. But I like those types of shows just because it shows you like the reality of life. Like it is like that. Like sometimes you realize like, oh well, I don't enjoy this anymore. People are constantly changing and growing. So, sometimes you can be with somebody but grow apart because you want different things. So
And there's nothing wrong with that. And it's better to like, I don't know, like I guess either like that show is saying, like work on your relationship or just realize that it's not the one and you choose a different path.
yeah.
Respectfully with each other is ideally. I am
Yeah.
very excited. Okay, so you mentioning that the new season of Love on the Spectrum like be coming out. Very excited about that. And then on Netflix, it might even be this month, they are releasing the Tell All America's Next Top Model documentary. And I'm very excited about
Oh, wow.
that.
That is gonna be good.
They are gonna talk about all the controversies, including the whole like very inappropriate race switching blackface photo shoots and things like that. Um,
Um,
because it seems like from what I have listened to on my America's Next Top Model podcast, I watch and listen to very intellectual things actually. That it's always been something that like they've either just like not talked about or like that like Tyra Banks has been like kind of more like defensive of, but it seems like in this they're finally gonna be like, okay, yeah, like we messed up. Like that was
right.
not okay. So
Wow, that's gonna be really good.
I'm excited. I've done my homework because I listened to an America's Next Top Model podcast and I've read at least one autobiography from a contestant on it. So I'm like, I'm ready to come in here with my facts and watch
Yeah,
this documentary.
that's definitely gonna be good. I know Netflix is coming out with a documentary. I don't know if you have you seen that guy that has like all those tattoos on his face and he got
Mm-mm,
convicted of murder. Well,
mm-mm.
it's some crazy thing about him. They call him the TikTok killer or something, but
Oh,
I've
I've
like
heard of that.
yeah, like he like has like he says he oh I forgot what kind of who he says he is, but he has like skeleton like little
Oh, okay.
tattoos.
Oh,
Like
wait,
his
no, I don't. I'm thinking of the character from American Horror Story.
that might it might be. I don't know, but he looks I mean he his face is covered in like crazy tattoos and like he was really like big into like at court like he was like really crazy and like his ex-girlfriend like he like went to her work and like did all these things to her and like they're making a documentary about him because he used like he came from like I think he's adopted
hmm
and like he had a great childhood but there was always something off about him and so I watch all that murder stuff 2020 all that Dateline I watch it all but he was like everyone said that he was so charming and they never saw like certain things about him and like when they sentenced him in court like he laughed like he just laughed like and the judge was like sir it's not funny by any means like what you did is a horrible crime and he just sat there laughing, and I was just like, "Oh wow!" Like, so they're doing a documentary based on like his life that's supposed to come out. I know a lot of people who are like into the murder, stuff and the mysteries and thrillers are really excited to see it because, they go like they do in-depth conversations with him that they've had. Like he's opened up about certain things. So I know a lot of people are looking forward to that on Netflix.
Well, everybody stay tuned to your
Yeah.
local streaming services. That's how they work. They're local. And find some good stuff. I think we're probably getting to where we need to wrap up. But to
Yeah.
synthesize this episode for anybody who might have skipped ahead, I don't know why you would. Um,
Right.
but essentially, it's cold. We're trying to cope, and sometimes self care is reality or murder TV, and that is actual self care. It is not indulgent. It relaxes your brain. That can balance out your neurotransmitters, give you a nice distraction. So never be ashamed of what could be your quote unquote guilty pleasure.
Right.
So,
Agreed.
all right, Jesse, should we do our sign off?
Let's do it.
All right. So what is it? Okay. This has been this has been Real Talk with Jesse and Sherrod. No
No
filter,
filters,
no
no
fluff,
fluff,
just
just
real
real
talk.
talk.
Everybody stay warm and stay safe.